Bubba Wallace took one of the hardest hits of his career at Talladega, and Denny Hamlin calls out Kyle Larson kind of jokingly and then apologizes for it. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Lots of news to get to. If you're new to the show and you love NASCAR, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future content. We've got this show, we've got the weekly viewer's guide on groovymotorsports.com, and much, much more. I appreciate y'all checking that out. Let's begin with some good news. The NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Talladega this past Saturday attracted the series' largest television audience in 5 years. Adam Stern tweeting about the Cup race, Fox earned a 2.61 rating and 4.682 million viewers for Sunday's Cup race at Talladega, down 1% from last year in viewership, so basically flat. But he says, meanwhile, the Xfinity race on Saturday got 2.061 million viewers, the most for any event in the series since Daytona 2017. Is anyone really surprised? It's the Earnhardt effect. Jeffrey Earnhardt won the pole in a black number 3 Chevrolet. Larry McReynolds, one of Dale Earnhardt's past crew chiefs, on the pit box. At Talladega, of course that's going to catch people's attention. That's going to attract the casual viewer, if you will. Not to mention he ran up front all day long, finished second there, made a hard charge on the closing stretch. Looked like Dale Earnhardt had taken the wheel once again. Good news for the Xfinity Series, and it comes just a week after the Truck Series set a new high viewership mark with their most viewed Bristol race ever. Good stuff happening in the lower series. And continuing to talk about the Xfinity Series for a moment, today Junior Motorsports announced that the 88 car will be back. Dale Jr. won't be behind the wheel again this season, but it's the all-star car for several Hendrick Motorsports Cup Series drivers. Chase Elliott is expected to drive this car at Darlington in a couple weeks. William Byron will drive it at Texas in May and New Hampshire in July. Meanwhile, Kyle Larson will drive this car at Watkins Glen in August and the September Darlington Raceway date. I'm genuinely somewhat curious as to why Junior Motorsports is bothering to do this. Like, I understand more track time is more track time, and as great as Elliott, Larson, Byron are, it's great to have more experience. They're all still fairly young. But with how different the next-gen car drives and handles compared to the Xfinity cars at this point, like how much are the drivers really learning from this extra seat time? I don't know. I think it's fairly minimal, honestly. Obviously, HendrickCars.com coming over to sponsor it. Money's money. If they're willing to pay to have these superstar Cup drivers race some Xfinity races, I guess it's a smart business decision from Dale Jr. and JRM's perspective. Of course, Rick Hendrick is a minority owner over at JRM, but HendrickCars.com, that sponsorship seems to be coming from someplace separate, just one of Hendrick's brands, but they're paying for it themselves. It's all very confusing. And you know, recently it was reported that Junior Motorsports is still shopping around, is still exploring the possibility of acquiring a charter and bringing their team to the Cup Series in the near future. That's not completely off the table. We thought it might be after they sort of bid and kind of got outbid last offseason, but no, it sounds like they're still at least exploring that possibility. I don't know that it's likely, but it's still out there. They have not ruled it out completely. Anyways, moving on, I want to talk a little more about Talladega, specifically the final lap melee. We'll talk about the crash that was set off at the very end in just a few moments, but I want to begin with Bubba Wallace. This video popped up in my YouTube recommendations. It was just a clip from NASCAR's onboard coverage of Bubba Wallace's car. It was the final few laps, and it included the radio audio between driver, spotter, and crew chief, I guess. And of course, Bubba Wallace was caught up in that last lap crash. He took a pretty big hit into the outside wall. And here, I'll just play the clip. Listen to what Bubba Wallace radioed his crew immediately after the impact.
Middle, keep going middle. There's a new P1. Right, but I don't know if I can take him any more hits like that. 10-4.
Now, we saw on TV, if you watched the Fox broadcast, Bubba Wallace got out of his car and seemed a little shaken up, got the wind knocked out of him, kind of like, hands on his knees, looking around for a second. It took him a moment to regather his bearings. Now look, it's NASCAR. Guys are going 200 miles an hour. Every week, someone typically takes a pretty big hit. Like Chase Briscoe this weekend took a huge hit as well. Kurt Busch hit the wall pretty hard. But we are seeing a concerning trend. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but it sounded like Bubba Wallace was calling that hit the hardest hit he has ever taken in a NASCAR car, or in any car for that matter. NASCAR prides themselves on safety, whether it's the cars themselves, the safer barriers, the catch fences even. NASCAR, thankfully, has not had a fatality in any of their top 3 series for now more than 20 years. Drivers do still sustain injuries from time to time, but One of the early concerns of this next gen car, and there were a lot of rumors over a year ago about a crash test at Talladega that rumors said went really badly. Like the crash test dummy was damaged, was killed, and then NASCAR had a lot of work to do before this thing actually had real drivers in a pack racing it. We've covered it on the show. Those rumors seem to be wildly overblown, but one thing has remained true and is undeniable at this point. The next gen car is stiffer, it's sturdier, it's stronger, which sounds like a good thing, and in many ways it is a good thing, but in one serious way it's a bad thing. Because the car's sturdier, when someone hits the outside wall, the driver, the human in the car, is absorbing more of that impact. They're experiencing a stronger force on their body than they would if the car, crumbled and caved in a little bit more and absorbed some of the impact. Basically, the next gen car does not seem to absorb impacts quite as well as the Gen 6 did. We even heard Clint Boyer on the broadcast this past Sunday kind of make a remark about, man, these cars seem to hit harder than the last ones did. He's exactly right. We talk all about the racing related changes NASCAR may need to make with the next gen, especially at short tracks like Martinsville, but they also have some work to do regarding safety. Late last year, they replaced some of the front clips. They did do some things to the cars to help it absorb impacts a little bit better, but more work clearly can be done because to the naked eye, the hit Bubba Wallace took at Talladega there didn't seem that severe. Obviously, it's a bad angle there in the tri-oval, and he was going very fast at the very end of the race. Everyone's got their foot in it. But to the casual viewer, to the naked eye, it did not appear to be as catastrophic as other crashes we've seen, even in the same race. I thought Briscoe's wreck looked even more serious. But obviously Bubba Wallace felt knocked around inside the cockpit there, saying that's the hardest hit he's ever taken in a race car. NASCAR needs to do something quickly to fix that because we can't have young drivers taking big hits, especially in the wake of Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his late career with all the concussions he's sustained. Other drivers, I'm sure, have experienced many concussions as well. Concussions are serious. That's a huge issue in the NFL. They face tons of criticism for it. They pour tons of money into researching and trying to mitigate them. NASCAR's done the same, for sure. NASCAR's safety record speaks for itself. It's fantastic the last couple decades, but more can certainly be done. So I hope NASCAR is not sitting on their hands and just hoping this issue goes away. I hope they're actively spending time and some resources to cushion the blow more effectively with these new cars. It's first year of the new car, going to be some growing pains, but this is one that needs to be sorted out as quickly as possible. Moving on, let's talk about how that last lap crash unfolded just a little bit more. I know we talked about it in my Sunday night video, but let's revisit it once again because Denny Hamlin was not too happy afterwards. Of course, both 2311 cars, we just saw Bubba Wallace, but also Kurt Busch, they were both destroyed in that accident, both wrecked there in the tri-oval. NASCAR posted the replay on Twitter. Kyle Larson seemed to move up, not knowing the 45 was there. That's what sent the 45 into the wall, sparking off a much bigger crash. And Denny Hamlin replied to NASCAR's post of that replay saying simply, "Not clear," referring, of course, to Kyle Larson. Now, immediately after the checkered flag flew, Denny Hamlin tweeted simply the word pain. I don't think that was in reference to him hitting the wall hard at any point or anything like that, unlike perhaps Bubba Wallace. I think it was just pain in the pocketbook for now team owner Denny Hamlin. Well, he wasn't done with Kyle Larson. Last night, he then posted a Family Guy meme that had been somewhat outfitted to fit this last lap crash, saying, "I leave this here without comment." Now he immediately followed that up with more comments saying, "Let me say this, I tweet because A, it's funny as heck, and B, because we are friends," him and Larson. Oh, and C, yes, I'm aware I wrecked him at Atlanta. Lighten up, people, have a laugh and enjoy the day. I'm not going to read too much into this. I think obviously Hamlin's frustrated that his two cars got destroyed because of a move Kyle Larson made, but I don't think he's trying to seriously call Larson out and start some sort of beef. I think he is just joking around. But that clip he posted, again, a reference to Family Guy, the popular long-running adult cartoon, sparked some typical Twitter debate, and Denny Hamlin actually deleted it later in the evening and issued this tweet. "I took down a post I made earlier today after reading some of the comments. It was a poor choice of memes, and I saw how it was offensive. It came across totally wrong. I apologize." I'm not the content police. Twitter is a very unserious place until all of a sudden it's very serious, but I understand when you represent a worldwide brand like Toyota or FedEx, you got to be careful. People are going to be sensitive to any sort of potentially edgy content. So understand why Hamlin probably had to do what he did. Glad he acknowledged it. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk actually about Kyle Larson because for the most part, over the past, year or so, I've heaped almost nothing but praise on Kyle Larson. He's a tremendous race car driver and he's done tremendous things behind the wheel of a race car for like a year and a half now. But today, I'm going to say some negative things about Kyle Larson, or at least going to raise some questions. Because Denny Hamlin is not the first to point out Kyle Larson, maybe clearing himself when he's not clear. It's not the first time Larson's done it this year. Let's revisit some of Kyle Larson's more infamous incidents this season. We'll go all the way back to the Clash when he just wrecked Justin Haley on purpose because he thought Haley gave him too big of a bump in the previous corner. A complete overreaction from the defending series champion, and if anything, he should have been more angry at his teammate William Byron, because Byron's the guy who shoved Haley into him. Anyway, then fast forward to Daytona when he was bumped drafting Kevin Harvick that came up behind Chris Buescher. Larson needed to be told to lift or to get off Harvick's bumper. Instead, he kept pushing, and that sent Harvick spinning into the pack, caused a big crash. And then, of course, a couple weeks after that, Larson, racing for the win late at Auto Club, moved up and walled his teammate, forced his teammate Chase Elliott into the outside wall, ruined Chase Elliott's race. Larson went on to win that one. You remember Larson's spotter, Tyler Maughan, took to Twitter to actually take the blame for that incident, saying that he didn't tell Larson Elliott was out there and it was his fault. Now we fast forward to Talladega, where once again Kyle Larson was not clear and ended up forcing Kurt Busch up into the outside wall. Larson went on to finish inside the top 5 still. Kurt Busch finished 16th. Look, Kyle Larson's a tremendous race car driver, and he's a tremendous dirt racer, of course, and often in dirt, usually in dirt, he's not using a spotter. But we now have 4 major incidents this year within the first, fourth of the season, where Kyle Larson and his spotter don't seem to be on the same page. That incident, the Clash, I can excuse. The spotter didn't have that much time to relay that information. That was just Larson losing his head in the moment and overreacting and wrecking Haley. But the Daytona deal, you would hope the communication would be there. You'd hope Larson would hear how tight Harvick was out front and he wouldn't keep pushing him. The Auto Club deal, obviously a spotter mistake. The spotter admitted it was a mistake. And then this one at Talladega. I know on the last lap at Talladega, it feels like anything goes these days. We've seen other drivers do the exact same thing Larson did. Like a couple of years ago, I think it was Ryan Blaney at Talladega did the exact same thing Larson did. Kyle Larson is one of the best drivers in the NASCAR Cup Series, without question. But with that, we have to hold him to a slightly higher standard. 4 times this year, he has wrecked people either due to miscommunication between him and the spotter, an overreaction on Larson's part, or a bit of both. It's becoming a trend, and I don't think Kyle Larson's a dirty driver. I don't even think he's an over-aggressive, careless driver usually, but first stint of this season, it's kind of looked that way, time and time again. It's just something to watch because we all expect Kyle Larson to make a deep playoff run this fall, and I'd hate to see the reputation he earns during the regular season come back to bite him in October, November. People race you the way you've typically raced them. That's how the saying goes. We saw that come into play last year with Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick, when Chase Elliott alleged that Harvick runs into people's left rears all the time as justification for his reaction. So things that happen in the regular season can carry over to the playoffs, so just want to be aware of that because Kyle Larson will be in the playoffs and he'll likely be championship eligible until very, very late in the season. Those are just my thoughts. Share your reaction down below. Do you think it was just a Talladega fluky deal, or do you think there's a trend? Kyle Larson making some of these late blocks or having miscommunication? Share your thoughts down in the comment section below. That's going to do it for this episode. Be sure to hit that subscribe button again if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR news, rumors, predictions, race recaps, and much, much more all week long, all season long. And as always, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters as well. I truly appreciate your tremendous support. We'll be back later this week. Lots more to talk about before Dover, the Monster Mile, Dover Motor Speedway. Yeah, that's right. New name, new ownership, same old Monster Mile, the concrete mile up there in Delaware. I'm excited. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Have a fantastic rest of your day.